Let me ask you a question. Why do you want $1 million career with a 999 mindset? Why do you want to be in the room with the best, but only if it's free? Let's talk about this because some of you want Oscar results on a Groupon coupon. And I love you, but we're not going to do that anymore. Oh, no, we're not. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the cost of being in the right rooms. And I'm not just talking money, I'm talking priority, I'm talking sacrifice, and I'm talking standards. As actors, well, I have seen many actors, because this isn't me so much. Even when I didn't have money, I was trying to figure out how I was going to get in that big room. What I've noticed over the years is that many actors are always hunting for that sale. They want the free workshop, the cheap headshots, the $40 acting class, the exposure opportunity for free, and then get confused when casting doesn't call back, agents don't take you serious, directors overlook you, and you stay in that same stuck tier. You're not moving up anywhere. You may move laterally in those spaces where it is all about the cheap, but you are not moving up in a way that you are really having that momentum. One of the things you got to know is that you can't build a premier career with discount decisions. So let's get real. Cheap classes often give you outdated technique, teachers with no industry respect. There's no real access. There's no real networking. There's no real growth. You are in the room with other actors who are shopping in the discount section as well. Y'all want to get there, but nobody's getting there because everybody is on this low level. So, one of the things that I see all the time is actors wanting cheap photographers. And what comes with cheap photographers? Bad lighting, generic shots, no branding, and no casting impact. You want to be in free rooms. Well, everybody who's in the free room, they're also stuck. They're trying to figure out, how do I get to the next level? Well, if you're in a free room, you're not going to get to the next level because they're not giving you anything. Usually when you get into a free room, they're offering you a ticket to a higher paid room. There's no industry power in those free rooms. Unless you are a SAG-AFTRA member and you go to one of their events, that's the only place where I know that you're not paying for it in that way, but you are paying for it because you're paying your dues. You are a union member. You've paid a big price to become a union member. So you're paying a cost, right? When you're in a free room, there is no elevation. You cannot move up. Here are some of the worst parts of getting free or cheap. You tend to get comfortable there, and you don't understand that comfort can be a very big expense. Early in my career, I asked myself, I started doing this in the beginning because I wanted to be with the best. And because I was in the music business, I had a sense of how low budget musicians were treated as opposed to those who came for the gala. That we had different tiers of artists. When I worked at Casablanca, we had the beginning level, and they didn't really invest in them. Then we had the mid-level. They were making some songs and doing some stuff, but then we had the big tier musicians, which were the Donna Summer, Village People, Parliament Funkadelic. They came fully loaded. They came with PR. They came with all these goodies. And the new artists didn't have much, and the record company wasn't going to spend much on them. So because of that, I started to learn, if you want the best, you have to pay for it, you have to sacrifice for it, and you have to make that your focus. So when how do you get in the best rooms? Not the most affordable, not the most convenient, but the best, like being in Ivana Chubbuck's class, or doing the intensive with Larry Moss or other respected teachers in the business. Go to London, do a session at RADA. That stuff costs. Those rooms are not cheap. It's not cheap to be at RADA. It's not cheap to be, it costs money. They are high ticket items. And guess what? They are totally worth it. If you believe in your heart that this is what you're supposed to do, that you are an actor and you are going to make it, then that's where you want to be. You want to be with the best. So, because you study with the best, if you have that mindset, if you're not in the discount section, but if you have the mindset, you know what, I want to be with the best people. I want to be with those acting teachers that have taken actors to awards like the Emmys, like the Golden Globes or the Oscars. They are serious. To have a coaching session with those teachers costs a lot of money. But with that cost, if you get the right material, that buoys you up. That gets you a lot of buzz. It doesn't happen magically. You have to work towards it. And when you're working with the best, when you're studying with the best, directors respect you, producers recognize you, and casting director definitely notice. Industry will open doors for you faster when they see a high profile acting teacher on your resume, because the first thing they go is, oh, they're studying with so and so. They must be good. They must have craft. They must be about their business. If they see names they don't know, unless you are an actor that they need, that you have that look that they need for that piece, you're going to get overlooked, because there are other actors similar to you that have better credits, that have that have better training, and that's who they're going to call on. So I want to share that I have gotten many jobs because of who I've trained with. And it started early on. I got work because I studied with Stella Adler. I remember going on an audition. I had to go on the set of a movie of the week. And I met the director, and he looked at my resume. And all he did was he says, "You've studied with Stella. That's all I need to know. You start tomorrow." That was it. Literally, I never even got to audition, because he just gave me the job based on the fact that I studied with Stella Adler. So I'm not telling you anything that I make up in my head. I'm telling you stuff from my experience of things that have worked and things that work. I've gotten into many rooms because of who I know, who I've worked with. And then once you're in the room, then you have to deliver the goods. Then you have to come with the goods. And that's the second part of why you want to work with the best, because if you're working with the best, and I'm not saying, I took a 1 week intensive with somebody and now I'm ready to act. No, I'm talking about studying with somebody for a period of time, a couple of years. My first major teacher was a man named Roy London, who Ivana Chubbuck came out of, and some other really great acting teachers came out of Roy. But I was with him for 9 years, and I developed craft. I developed my technique. I developed stuff. So when I went out to audition, I was solid. I wasn't, flubbing my lines. One of the things that I was very proud of was the fact that I could hit my mark, not only say my lines, but actually deliver a performance in the first take. in the second take, in the third take, in the fourth, fifth, and sixth take if I had to. And there were times when sometimes I had to do multiple takes. You know, something was not right technically. There was a problem. An actor didn't get their lines right. But because I had training, because I was studying with great people and studying with Stella Adler, I studied with Stella for 4 years. I've studied with great teachers, and that has really made a difference in my career. And so I was never one who was just, just be in an acting class. You don't want to just be in an acting class if you're not getting all the benefits of being in an acting class. You want to be, you want to get all the benefits, right? You want, when you're working with great people, one of the quotes, and this is true, money begets money. So if you're working with the best, you're going to always kind of be in that circle with the best. When you invest in quality, you elevate your skill, you elevate your circle, and you elevate your reputation. You don't just learn technique, but you gain proximity to all the people around you. And proximity, let me tell you, that is power. That's the power. So let me break it down for you. Going cheap or the free route often leads to delayed growth because you're spending years having to unlearn bad habits. You are in a weak network when you go cheap or the free route. You're surrounded by people who can't pull you up. They can't help you. If anything, they're trying to pull you down because they think that there's not enough for everybody. And when you are in a winner's circle, what you find is that there's enough room for everybody because sensibility to the role, to the script, to the performance. So when you're in a weak place, a cheap place, a free place, you got low confidence. It doesn't help you. You those are the places where you tend to feel more like an imposter than when you're at the top of the food chain. Your reputation gets a little risky. People talk. If your training is questionable, it's going to show in your performance. It's going to show in your auditions. It's going to show in your self-tape. And there's a false economy. You can save $2,000, but then you'll lose $200,000 in opportunities, meaning you can get that headshot for $100. But you're going to miss out on those auditions that you might have been able to book, might have been right for you, because you had $100 headshot, it might have looked janky and the casting director just scrolled on by. So cheap is not affordable if it's costing you time, money, and attention. And time is one thing you're never going to get back. So let's talk about the benefits of investing as an actor, making that high ticket investment. When you invest properly in your career, number one, you sharpen your craft at a high level. You're working with other professionals who are working, so they're serious about the business. When you build better relationships that matter because you're now at a different level, you gain credibility, you develop discipline, and you raise your standard because you are around other people who are raising their standard. And something happens psychologically. When you pay more, you show up differently. Maybe about 10 years ago, maybe a little more, I was having a hard time because I was doing production. I was working in production and I was feeling like I wasn't really putting time in myself. So I hired a career coach to help me. And because I was paying for that career coach, I showed up on time. I did my homework. I did everything I needed to do because I was paying for it. I wasn't just talking to friends. You know, sometimes you talk to friends and you say, okay, why don't you try this? You try that. And then you go, oh, yeah, yeah. And then you let it go. But when you pay for something, you are showing up, especially if it costs you money that you may not have, that you have to sacrifice for. You show up differently. You prepare harder. You focus deeper. And you respect the opportunities more because now you have skin in the game. You have put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. You know, um, uh, early on, when I was a struggling actor, one of the things I always made sure I had, and this may sound terrible, but one of the things I always made sure I had was money for my acting class. So whatever little jobs I had to take on to pay for that class, that is what I was doing. That money was committed to my acting class, and and my rent. Those were and my car note. Those were like the big three ticket items. I never. It was never about, well, I can't pay for my class this month. No, I had to figure out where that money was gonna come from because I needed that class. That class was the ticket to get me work. When I was sharpening my instrument, I was being able to get the work. And so that was really important for me. And I'm sharing that with you because I see a lot of times actors will say, well, I can't really afford acting classes this month, so I'm not going to go this month. And then this month turns into the next month and the next month and the next month. You look up and you've gone a whole year without taking classes. How are you expecting to land projects if you are not training, if you're not going to class, if you're not working out in the gym? We will spend more money working out at a gym and buying the cute outfits than we will an acting class. And you got to turn that around. You know, um, transformation comes when you stop saying, I don't have the money, and say, how do I make this work? How do I get to take my classes monthly? That might mean that you have to budget in a different way. Stop treating your career like a hobby. If you want professional results, act like a professional. Be that professional. You know, if you're spending too much money eating out or having random subscriptions or impulse Amazon buys, vacations, taking those vacations. I know an actress, really talented, but she's more concerned with her vacations. And I'm not saying don't take vacations, but you got to plan it accordingly. Maybe you can take one vacation out of the year so that you can take your classes. Again, you're not taking classes to take classes. You're taking classes to keep you sharp so you can be ready when you have to audition, when you have to do a self-tape, when you have a callback. You want to be ready. You be surprised at what you can accomplish if you change your focus and start thinking about the career, not only that you want, but the career you're fighting for. Okay, this means a lot to me, so I'm gonna do it. Not, well, I can take a voice class later or a Alexander Technique another time. If that's something you need, you should be taking that class now, not waiting for later. Not, um, as an actor, producer, podcaster, those things are really important to me. So there is a podcast summit coming up. It's called the Podcast Summit, by the way, and it's coming up in July. Well, I'm not waiting for a month before to get my stuff together. I got my stuff together. It's like, okay, I'm going to get my ticket, and then I'm going to get my room, and then I'm going to get my airfare together. So I did it in steps, but it is done. I am ready to go to that podcast summit because that summit really helps me with my podcast. It really makes a difference. And if you are thinking of doing a podcast, you should go to the Podcast Summit too. I'll just tell you real quick. The website is podcastsummit.com. And I tell you, it is such a great investment that I make going to that podcast, that it sets me up for my following season. And that's how I take my stuff. So in my acting classes, and right now I have been immersed in my voice classes. I am also I'm taking some Alexander Technique classes, and I'm looking at, okay, I need to step up my game with Alexander Technique, because it really helps me to relax. It helps me to be present now. It helps me with life. So I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm just giving you some mama advice from Common Sense Mamita, that if you want to be serious about your career, you have to figure out how to invest differently, how to make bigger investments in your career, and stop being cheap, and stop, going to the discount centers. Let me tell you, I used to love the 99-cent store. I am still pining over the loss of the 99-cent store. That was my jam. I could go and get all kinds of things in there, and it was great. And I got discounts. There were certain things that I could get in there that if I went to a regular store, it cost me maybe, 3 times more. But when I want something important, I am not going to the 99-cent store or the Dollar Tree or whatever cheap store. There are times when you can look in the clearance racks. If you're buying new outfits, it's great to go into the clearance rack and go, oh, okay, this looks good, I'm gonna take this. But there are times when you want to look your best, so you are going to get a tailor-made suit. You're going to really look fabulous, because it makes a difference. It makes a difference. And I tell you that from somebody who grew up in Spanish Harlem, where we would go to the Marqueta to get our clothes, and they were cheap, and it was not good. And so, I've learned that there's a time to get the Marqueta. For those of you who don't know and you didn't see Bad Bunny, the Marqueta was a place in Spanish Harlem between 111th Street and 116th Street, where, think of like a big swap meet almost. And they had all these different kiosks with different, on one side you had food, you had seafood, you had meat, and then on the other side you had clothes, and you had pots and pans and all kinds of things. It was kind of like our department store slash supermarket slash fish store. And so that's where we shopped. But as I got older, as I started understanding, I would go downtown. I went to Bloomingdale's. I went to Macy's. I went to Bonwit Tellers, to get the high quality stuff. And in acting, we gotta pay attention to the high quality stuff. Not everything is high quality. That costs a lot of money, so you have to do your homework. Because I've seen teachers out there charging all this money, and they're not good. They are not good. I've dealt with teachers that are not all that. I've paid high ticket items for publicity that were not all that. I've spent a pretty penny on things that were not worth it. But I never let the money stop me from moving forward. It's like I will figure it out. So I just want to share that with you because, hi Camila, I just want to share that with you because it is so important to honor your career and invest in it in the best way. So let's talk about putting money aside. One of the things I learned early on was to have a separate little bank account. that I would put money into for classes and whatever I thought I might need. You know, I put money in there for my dues, my acting dues. So I had a separate acting account that I would just put savings. And what's funny is I didn't have a savings account, but I had an acting savings account. So if I needed new headshots, if I needed extra pictures, if I needed to go get an outfit, I had this little acting savings account to take care of stuff that I needed to do. Um, so I want you to think about when you're looking for acting class, look for acting classes that the industry respects. Look for look for environments where real actors are working. I don't mean real actors, but uh, that the actors are really working professionally. Look for there to be results in that community or in that class or in that or that workshop, that there are results. People do get results from it. Look up their reputation, and the same with agents and managers. You know, Google them, find out what is bad about them and what is good about them, because most agencies, if you Google bad reports, you'll have stuff, and then you can discern, well, you know, they're making comments that's not really um, it's not really all that, because there are people that just have bad intentions. But you want to check out people's reputations, because sometimes there's legitimacy to it. So a high ticket item, again, going back to that high ticket item, it doesn't mean hype, it means alignment. Don't pay and then play small. That's another thing. You know, you don't want to take a class where you're spending all this money and then you're not prepared. You haven't done your work. You didn't memorize the lines. You didn't bring what you needed to do. You're playing small in that room. You're intimidated by everybody in the room. You are just important as they are. So if you're paying for a class, get your money's worth. You know, even if you're not going up that week, be there, take notes, pay attention to what's going on, because you can learn from just watching other actors in the room. If you get in a room with the best, and one of the things that I've learned is when I'm in a room with the best, it just sharpens me. It makes me stand up. It makes me want to be more professional, and it makes me want to be more memorable, and it also makes me competitive. It just gets me ready. Right now, I'm in a group, in a community where we meet every day, Monday through Fridays, from 4:45 to 6 a.m. my time. I pay for that class. I show up for that class or that community, and I am so fired up when I'm done, because everybody in that community wants the same thing. They want to be successful in their businesses, with their projects, with what they're doing. So we're all like pushing through. It's like, woo, let's go. And that's what you want. You want to be in a space where you just feel like you're moving forward. You're doing it. You're making it happen. So if you're paying for a class, do not just sit there. You are there to ascend. You are there to take charge, to be that superstar that you said you wanted to do. So I I beg you, do not sit outside the gate complaining about the castle if you refuse to invest in the key. Don't do it. In ghetto wording is, don't be complaining if you ain't doing the work. Shut up. You know, if you're not going to pay for it, then shut up. If you're not going to do the work that you say you want to be the actor, you say you want to be this, but you're not willing to sacrifice, to put skin in the game, then quiet. Stop it. This is not about flexing money or understanding value. It is about you building a long-term career. And sometimes The room that scares your wallet is the room that changes your life. So ask yourself these questions. Am I operating on the level I want, that I say I want? Am I operating on the level I say I want? Or am I negotiating with my potential, which is scary? Don't negotiate with your potential. You want to expand yourself. You want to go beyond your potential. So, my other question for you is, what room do you need to be in next? What is the room you need to get into next? Write that down. Then start making steps to get there. And what are you willing to sacrifice to get there? I'm not talking prostitution. I'm not talking anything illegal. But what are you willing to sacrifice? Maybe you need to get up an hour earlier. In my case, I get up 3 hours earlier to be in my groups. What are you willing? So I sacrifice sleep. What are you willing to sacrifice to get where you want to be? There is a cost to being in the right room. And there's nothing that compares to the cost of never getting there. You can say you want this or you want that. It's not what you say, it's what you do. So what are you doing to get what you want? What is it that you are doing to get what you want? That's the key. That's where the rubber meets the road. Are you willing to do what it takes to get where you want to go? Stop talking and start doing. Take action. Put your money where your mouth is. Take charge of the things you want to say. Keep the promises to yourself. If you made a promise to yourself saying, I'm going to be an actor and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, then keep your promise. Keep your word to yourself. That is a really high ticket item, to do the thing you said you wanted to do, to make it happen. Do you know how many actors come to Hollywood saying they want to act, they want to do this, and the minute something happens that makes them uncomfortable, and I'm not talking about anything traumatizing, I'm just talking about taking a class where the teacher is not praising you but giving you critique, they're ready to go. They don't want any, or my favorite, you take the classes and then you're waiting to be discovered instead of you hustling, going out there, submitting yourself for different things, going to events where you meet casting directors, people get to know you. This is a business where they hire who they know. They want to work with people they know are going to show up. So if I have two candidates and I know one and I know that they're qualified, I know that they're on time, that they do good work, and then there's somebody I don't know, guess what? I'm going to go with the person I know. I'm not going to go with the person who I don't have any information on. So as an actor, you want to get out there and meet industry people. You want to build relationships, you want to grow, you want to develop, you want to do theater, get into plays, even if they're really bad plays, get into them because they'll stretch you. When you're in a bad play, it makes you grow on a whole nother level. We talk, it's always, we always feel like if it wasn't successful in our minds, then it wasn't successful. I want you to know that because you did it, you succeeded. You did it. And everything that all the crazy stuff you went through, all the challenges that you faced, you made it through. That is success. There really is no failure, because in everything that we do, even if we don't get what we thought we were going to get, we're learning something valuable that takes us to the next level. I can't wait to hear your success story. So let me know how this talk impacted you. I want to know. Let me know. Give me some information. I love hearing good information. And even if you're stuck, even if you have a question, let me know. And that is it. I bid you a wonderful adieu, and I can't wait to see you on the other side.